This happened to me 25 years ago. I had just dropped out of college and was looking to stretch my legs and get a new job. Well, that turned out to be much harder than expected. As a college dropout, I knew I wasn't going to find much. However, I managed to get a job at the gas station on Route 52. It was very far away from, really, anything. The closest town was 20 miles away. The owner was quiet, kept to himself. The place was a dump, and the pay was scarce. One night, August 15th, the owner had just left, leaving me in charge for the night shift. Even I had goosebumps that night. It was quiet. Peaceful, you may say. However, none the more dramatic. Fog covered the one road that led to nowhere, and there wasn't a car in sight. I was just about to close up for the night when a man entered the store. That wasn't very odd, seeing as I had gotten a few customers that night. However, the one thing that seemed out of the ordinary to me was that I never saw a car park in the parking lot. They would have had to walk 20 miles. But it occurred to me there was an abandoned house very close to the gas station. Maybe they found comfort there and needed a drink, so I carried on. I told them the station was closing soon. However, they just stood there, looking at the cigarettes on the counter. Seemed odd to me, because he was a rather old gentleman, and I wouldn't expect someone like that to continue smoking, even if he did it in his prime. I asked him if he wanted some. He said yes. That was all he would say that night. I asked him if that would be all. He had the cigarettes in his hand. However, rather than going to the register, he nodded his head, and slowly stepped closer to the door. I tried to gather his attention. However, he didn't respond to me. He opened the door to go outside. I followed him from behind. I felt a chill when I did, one that I had never felt before. He began to walk into the street. However, I didn't follow him. The reason I didn't follow him is because a car was coming his way. I yelled out one more time, "Sir! Sir!" But he continued walking, slower than before. In fact, then he stopped. He turned around, and he looked right at me. He slowly put out his hand, with the car coming closer and closer towards him, and pointed it right at me. I had no time to react to that, however, because a few seconds later, the car sped up and ran into him. As I opened my eyes, expecting the old man to be in front of me, no one was there. In fact, I didn't even see the car in the distance. All that remained was a pack of cigarettes that sat there in the street. To say the least, that spooked me right out, but I truly knew no one would believe my story. So, I got myself back in shape, closed up the station, and went home. I slept with a light on that night. In the middle of the night, 12 I believe, I got a call. The owner of the gas station had passed away. I thought that was very unfortunate. He was rather nice to me. However, I will never forget these words. They told me he died in a car accident. Some random pedestrian walked in front of his car on the highway, causing him to swerve into the ditch. The owner's son took possession of the store and decided to close it down. He came up to me one day and asked if I knew anything about what happened. I just shook my head and walked away. I knew he'd never believe me. I eventually moved to New York, where I went back to school and got a job as a psychiatrist. Maybe if I can't relieve myself, I can relieve others from their torment. I've never spoken of that day since it occurred. However, I have decided to post it as sort of a message to others. The dead are alive, just not in a human form. As for the old man, I say goodbye, and I hope you finally got